Good morning, community. I am, for those that don't know, I am an ordained minister of the interfaith community. I am Reverend Elder Quintin Strange, coming to you today. Many years of school and learning different faiths and so on and so on. Just wanted to kind of give you a little brief synopsis of myself. But I want to talk to you today about meeting the moment together everywhere. Let me begin with the question. Is anyone else just a little bit tired of living through unprecedented times? Because at this point, if someone says unprecedented one more time, I would like it to come with a nap, a snack, and maybe a small emotional support stipend. We have earned that. Because let's be honest, we have been through it. A global pandemic that reshaped how we live, work, gather, and grieve. A political climate that often feels less like conversations and more like confrontation. In a culture where even the smallest choices, what you wear, where you shop, what you post, can suddenly feel like declarations of identity. We are tired. Not just physically, but emotionally, relationally, spiritually, and yet, here we are. Still showing up, still gathering, still choosing somehow to be in community. So the question before us today is this: what does it mean to meet this moment? And not just individually, but together, everywhere. Let's talk about the word together, because together used to be simple. Before 2020, together meant potlucks, hugs, crowded coffee hours where someone always brought something slightly questionable, but we ate it anyway. It meant shared space, shared presence, shared experiences. And then suddenly, bam, together meant, you're on mute. I think your screen is frozen. Oh, can you hear me now? Together we become screens and squares, trying to interpret the tone through glitchy audio and delayed reactions. We adapt it because we are resilient. We are creative. We are surprisingly capable of holding meaningful conversations while also wondering if everyone can see that our camera is slightly angled too low. But something shifted. We got used to distance. We got used to controlling how and when we engage. We got used to leaving conversations with a click. And just as we began returning to shared spaces, remembering how to physically present with one another, we stepped into a political climate that said, welcome back. Please immediately pick a side. Because we are living in a time of deep division, and not just disagreements, but division that feels personal. It shows up everywhere, in our families, in our friendships, in our workplaces, and yes, even in our faith communities. And especially online, where people say things that they would never say if they were standing 3 feet away from you, holding a cup of coffee and making polite eye contact. And over time, something happens. Disagreement starts to feel like disconnection. Difference starts to feel like distance. And we begin, sometimes without even noticing, to build lives surrounded only by people who think like us, agree with us, and affirm us. Which feels comfortable, but is not the same as being in community. Because real community is not built on sameness. It is built on commitment. Commitment to show up. Commitment to stay engaged. Commitment to see one another as fully human, even when it would be easier not to. And this is where our Unitarian Universalist faith comes in. It calls us into something both beautiful and challenging, because we affirm in the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Every person. Every single person. Which sounds inspiring until you remember that every person includes people who absolutely test our patience. People who say things that make you pause to think, wow, we are really going here today? And yet, they are part of the human story, and so are we. Let's be honest, people are complicated. We are capable of kindness and frustration, wisdom and misunderstanding, sometimes all in the same conversation. We hold strong beliefs, and we don't always communicate them well. We make assumptions, we react quickly, we miss each other. And still, we are called into relationship. Not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. Now, here's a temptation in a moment like this, to retreat, to say, I will build my world with people who agree with me, understand me, and never challenge me. I think we all know people like that. And that's understandable. Comfort feels good. Agreement feels easy. Being right feels, lack of better terms, very satisfying. But that kind of community is fragile because it is built on alignment, not relationship. And the moment alignment shifts, the connection is broken. Real community is different. It is deeper. It is stronger. And yes, a little messier. It requires patience, humility, and the willingness to stay, even when things feel uncomfortable. Now, let me be clear. This is not about ignoring harm. It is not about abandoning justice. It is not about pretending everything is fine when it isn't. Boundaries matter. Accountability matters. Justice matters. But there is a difference between setting a boundary and building a wall. One protects connection, the other prevents it. So how do we meet this moment? We start small. We start with how we show up. We slow down because everything around us is pushing us to speed up, except for traffic on 270. Because everything around us is pushing us to speed up. React faster, judge quicker, decide immediately. But connection does not happen at the speed of reaction. It happens at the speed of attention. So sometimes meeting the moment looks like this. You pause, take a breath, and instead of reacting, you ask a question. Not a question designed to win, not a question designed to trap, not a question designed, but a question designed to understand. What led you to that perspective? What experiences shaped you and how you see things? What matters most to you here in this moment? Because when people feel heard, something shifts. Defensiveness softens. Curiosity grows. Connection becomes possible, even without agreement. Now let's name something else we're carrying: grief. Because part of this moment is loss. Loss of normalcy, loss of ease, loss of relationships that didn't survive the strain of these past few years. And when grief goes unspoken, it can turn into distance. It can make us guarded. It can make us assume the worst about one another. So be part of community building now. It's making space for that grief, naming it, honoring it, recognizing that we are all carrying more than we can see. And alongside that grief, we need joy. Yes, joy. Not as denial, not as distraction, but as sustenance. Because if everything becomes heavy all the time, we will burn out. So laugh, tell the story, notice the absurdity of being human in a time like this. Because sometimes the most faithful thing we can do is remember how to smile at one another. Now here's the heart of it. Meaning the moment is not about perfection, because we are not perfect. It is about presence. It is about choosing again and again to stay engaged, to stay curious, to stay connected. And these choices, they may seem small, but they are not. The smallest thing, the smallest action can make the most biggest of impacts. So every time you choose curiosity over assumption, you are building community. Every time you pause instead of react, you are building community. Every time you remember the humanity of the person in front of you, you are building community. And that is how change happens. Not all at once, but moment by moment, choice by choice. So here is the invitation. Meet this moment. Meet it with courage, the courage to stay engaged. Meet it with compassion, the willingness to listen. Meet it with humor, because we are going to need it. Meet it with hope, a steady, grounded belief that connection is still possible, because it is. Even now, even here, even in a world that feels divided, we are still capable of building something stronger, something deeper, something more human. A community not defined by agreement, but by commitment. A community that makes space for complexity. A community that chooses again and again to be together through the good times and the bad, the easy times and the hard ones. But when it all matters most is when we come together. So let us go from this place and meet this moment head on, together, everywhere. Thank you.